It's a great question, and thank you. But what I've done, I think, I've satisfied a certain need in my own head about performance style, and that's happened, and I've done that. And I think Face Off, thanks for mentioning it, I think is the best example of that. Pastor Troy. I'm at this time wanting to get more to that quietude and that kind of what Hemingway would call the taut fishing line with just little droplets of water coming off of it in the way he writes. I wanted to have that simplicity again, and so Joe gave me a chance to explore that. So I wanted to stay in this world for a little while longer.
Well, we're glad you're here.
Thank you.
Hi Nick, just a quick question for you. Actually, I have a two-part question. One, what role have you not had that you would like to have? And two, would you make me the coolest wife ever and give me your John Hancock for my husband? He is like the ultimate Superman.
Absolutely.
All right, thank you.
I have yet to do my character who's in love with the ocean or some aspect of the ocean.
Oh my God!
I'd love to do Captain Nemo in 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea, or Captain Ahab in Moby Dick. I almost was cast in Perfect Storm. That didn't work out. Wish I had done it. Yeah, something to do with the ocean, getting back to that initial love of mine. Hi.
Hey, one of my absolute favorite movies of all time, and I mean of all time, including Citizen Kane, is Raising Arizona. It's been hugely influential in my life. I've been married to my wife for 24 years, and back in the day, this was pre-digital, we would take road trips across the country, and we loved the movie so much, we recorded it on audio cassette.
Wow.
To listen to it.
That's great.
Yeah, so I've spent a lot of time examining this movie, and it's tremendous. Thank you for your work. Everyone did a great job on that, but thank you.
Hey, son, you got a panty on your head.
Hey, Mr. Gage.
Hi.
Hey, just want to say first off, if it wasn't for Vampire's Kiss, I probably wouldn't know my alphabet today, so thank you for that. My question is, me and my roommate Greg at UNC, we would always kind of joke about what our favorite Rage Cage moments were, like all the moments in your movies we just lose it.
Yeah.
And even if Joe, you have your moments, you know?
Sure.
And I just want to ask, if there's a question to be answered, how do you prepare for that? Like, do you just you have a bad day or something where you think about something that just really pisses you off and you go for it, or I was just curious?
Well, that's a great question. I'm going to answer it in a very sort of esoteric way. And it probably will answer also why these internet things are happening.
Yes.
I think there's a little bit of Vampire's Kiss in every man and every woman. And there's a little bit of Joe in every man and every woman. And what I think I just opened myself up to the zeitgeist, really, and think about everybody. Think about what's happening around the world, think about what's happening in the news, and tap into that and get there. So maybe that's why this is also being explored on the internet, because people see themselves in it. Everybody wants to lose it. I mean, we're not allowed to.
Well,
because
the interesting and side note on this conversation is when in Joe there's a scene where he does kind of snap a little bit and smash a dude's head into a bar.
Yeah.
And the scene opened, and Nick, when we were lighting the scene, and Nick was sitting at his mark and kind of getting into character, and this is, I don't know, maybe just a little insight into it, and there was a recent headline about a young child that had fallen into a den of African wild dogs at a zoo. And so I just listened to him as kind of muttering under his breath as we're, technically just getting ready for the scene. He's technically getting ready for the scene, thinking about this headline of this atrocity, and then we put it in the movie. Like, I was just like, just hold, keep thinking it, and then let's film it. And so I actually kind of filmed the subtext in a way that was just amazing that he was generous enough to kind of share that with a camera.
Well, and that's what got me angry to do the scene. I was thinking about that kid, and I was upset about it, so it got me there.
Thank you very much.
My pleasure.
Hi.
Hi.
I just want to let you know that Season of the Witch saved my marriage, so
Awesome.
thank you for that. I'll tell that story later if anybody wants to know what's up. I heard a quote that you said once about one of the reasons that you decided to do Drive Angry was because you got to get shot in the eye.
Yeah.
And I was wondering what else is on your list of things that you really want to get done that you haven't gotten.
And that really was the reason why I did Drive Angry.
And it was a great movie, by the way.
And but thank you, I like it myself. And they wouldn't let me get shot in the eye in Season of the Witch. And I asked them to let me get shot in the eye. I wanted to end the movie with one eye. That's a whole other esoteric thing right now. There's a mythological character named Wotan who has one. He gives up one eye, hung upside down on the Yggdrasil tree to get knowledge, and brought back the knowledge of the universe. And I thought that was a powerful image, so I wanted to try to embody that in one of my performances. So that's what I got to do in Drive Angry when they shot the eye out, and then that was great that that actually happened. What other things I would like to do? What other images? Something stupid. Years ago, I was driving and I saw a guy who was in a bit of a rush in a car, and he went, and then the light turned red, and I could tell he had anxiety, and he put his seat back, all the way back, and he went like this with his hand over his head, trying to relax, waiting for the light to turn green, and then he drove off again. I want to do that in a movie.
We had one request on Joe. I'm pretty open-minded as a director. I'll go. I'll film some crazy shit. I'm up for whatever. But one request, I won't go into exact detail.
Yeah.
But Nick did want to play. He wanted to be naked and playing the pan flute.
Oh, it's true. It's true. It's true. Boy, is it true. I had a reason for it, believe it or not. It's not like I just want to get naked in movies. I mean, I do emotionally, but I take my clothes off. But it occurred to me that Joe, being a tree killer, poisoning these trees and being surrounded by nature and trees, that he was probably going to tap into that sort of, there's a word for it, egregor, or it's a channel, a current in the zeitgeist that you can tap into with mythology. That Pan, the great Greek, now deceased god Pan, with the flute and the goat feet and a pretty massive, hard phallus, in the woods. I thought, and with a beard, I thought Joe would see himself like that in some bizarre nightmare, and I thought maybe David and I should try to do that. He talked me out of it. It would have been good. It would have been. Yeah.
Hi.
Hi.
So you're easily my favorite actor of all time.
Thanks
and
so much.
I think that's because of the versatility of your films.
Thank you.
Something you mentioned earlier about wanting to be Jane Steen sort of made me wonder, where do you see yourself in the larger, your place in film history?
I don't really know yet. I don't. I think the jury's still out. Again, I see myself as a student. I hope there's going to be a lot more new and hopefully more seasoned kinds of performances as I get older. But I don't know what it's been over 75 movies now. I don't know what the final evaluation is going to be, and I try not to think about it.
Okay. Thank you.
My pleasure.
Hi, Nick.
Hi.
Hi, David. I guess we're allowed to tell one little anecdote of why we love you or whatever. But I wrote a one-man show about Ghost Rider.
Cool.
I really love that film.
Thank you.
Anyway, my question is, I remember reading a long time ago, you talked about the sci-fi genre and how you always want to kind of get more involved in it because it allows you kind of to embody an idea more so than any sort of other acting genre can. Do you feel like you've been able to do that with anything in particular? Maybe Spirit of Vengeance comes to mind. And how do you feel that relates to this kind of quietude at style acting that Joe allow you to do?
That's a great question, and there's two aspects to science fiction that I think are important, and I'm very thankful that we have this genre. One is that science fiction can provide the engine to get pretty far out in terms of performance style, in terms of designing performance. If you're playing a man whose head bursts into a flaming skull, and you want to be literally like a moving tattoo, that you can do that if you've sold your soul to the devil and your head goes on fire. You can get crazy as you want, and still have emotional content. So there's that aspect. But the more significant one, I think, District 9 is one of my favorite movies. It's a movie about apartheid, really. And it was like, with science fiction, we get to make social comments. You couch it on a different planet or a different time, and you can speak your mind as the people about what's frustrating you in the world that we live in this time on this planet. So science fiction is a great way to be political in a positive way and not get anybody hurt. So that's why I think it's an important genre. My pleasure.
Hey there, first, thanks for being here with us.
My pleasure. Thanks for having me.
My question was, I've seen a ton of your movies, enjoyed all of them. I always had a soft spot for Moonstruck.
Yeah.
And, you had some amazing chemistry with Cher and your Caucus and cast. It was an amazing cast. I was just curious what it was like to work on that movie.
Yeah, well, that's a great question, and I'll tell you exactly. At the time, Ed LaMotta was my agent. And when he died, part of Hollywood died. I mean, he was that guy, very important man in Hollywood. And I was into punk rock. I just finished Vampire's Kiss. He begged me not to do Vampire's Kiss. He said, "Nick, you can't do Vampire's Kiss with the stupid plastic fangs. Come on, don't do that movie. You gotta do Moonstruck." And I said, "Ed, I really don't want to be in Moonstruck. I'm not interested in doing a Hallmark card romantic movie. This isn't me." Well, it turned out we were both right. He let me do Vampire's Kiss if I did Moonstruck. And the two kind of opened the door for me to explore romantic film performance as well as punk rock film performance. So that was a great kind of turning point for me. And the experience itself was outstanding. Cher, gosh, I don't know why, she really wanted me in the movie. She kept fighting for me. She saw a movie called Peggy Sue Got Married. Thank you. And she said, "I just loved you in that movie. It was like watching a 2-hour train wreck." And nobody else got it, but she got it. She said, "I want you to be my leading man." Well, I was what? I was 23 or 20, being Cher's leading man. It was a pretty intimidating request. And I almost got fired. Norman Jewison did not like my approach. At that time, I was channeling Jean Marais in Jean Cocteau's Beauty and the Beast, and I was talking like that. And he called me on Christmas Eve to tell me the dailies weren't working, and I knew then it was serious. And then I kept hearing the name Vincent Spano wafting around the set, and I got pretty sick, with nerves that I was going to get fired. So I dropped everything, and I just tried to act from the spinal cord to keep my job. And the great irony is that John Patrick Shanley, who wrote the movie, he said, "Nick, I liked what you were doing," and the first title for the script was The Wolf and the Bride. And so I was playing it like the Beast, so I think I was picking up on something in John's script. So those are my memories of that experience, and I'm very happy I made the movie, and I love the movie. It's one of the few movies where the Italian American is not a gangster, and I think that's great.
Hey guys, David, I just had a comment for you. Thank you for bringing Larry Brown to the screen. Huge fan of Larry's work. I went to University of Mississippi and got to see him speak at my English comp class right before he died. So, Mr. Cage, one of my all-time favorite movies is The Family Man. One of the best ever. And actually have a kid on the way coming up in September. So my wife and I watch that every Christmas, and it's one of our all-time favorites. But if you had to pick, I guess, one of your favorite roles as an actor, would that, what was one of your favorites to portray?
It would be between The Wicker Man and Vampire's Kiss.
Nice.
Mr. Cage and Mr. Green, thank you very much for coming to Austin.
Thank
Love
you.
that you're here. In fact, one of the first movies I saw with you, Mr. Cage, was Honeymoon in Vegas. Loved it.
Thanks.
You know, it's a Kauai Eye or Kauai Eye. You worked with many directors, and I'd love to hear your experience with David Lynch in Wild at Heart. Any crazy story you have?
Well, it's kind of fun for David and I, because one of the things that I would do on the set of Joe to kind of lighten the mood when we had some intense scenes to work out together was I would go into my David Lynch impression. And David was so much fun to work with and such a positive guy. He would say things like, "Nixter, that was solid gold, buddy. Solid gold, man." And then if we go out to dinner and I would say something that was a little off kilter, go, "Oh, that's the margarita talking, buddy. That's the margarita." So that would, and then I love Martin Short's Jiminy Glick movie where he does David Lynch as the villain at the film festival. It's just, cinema is a road. It's a dark road. And characters, things become obscured.
Hi, how's it going?
Good, great.
So of all the roles you've had, which character would you say was the most difficult for you to really connect with, get into?
I probably would have to say the last one. It hasn't come out yet. I just got back 3 days ago from Romania and Australia doing a movie called The Dying of the Light. Paul Schrader directed, and he wrote the script, and he's one of my heroes, one of David's heroes. But I play a CIA agent who is in his 50s, and he's been tortured, and he's suffering from a condition known as frontal temporal dementia, which is a far more aggressive offshoot of Alzheimer's. People act inappropriately, people have issues with their memory, they go blank, and he finds out that the man who tortured him, the terrorist who tortured him, is still alive. He gets fired from the CIA because of his condition, but he still goes after him. And it was just mountains of dialogue, and it was just, it's still in me, and I just want to get it out of me, and I think that was probably the most challenging role I've had.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Hi. Hi, I just want to be honest with you, I'm mostly here because my mom forced me to come. And she says you're my dad, so I was just wondering to ask you, like, what is, if you can remember, your favorite line in the movie?
My favorite line in the movie. Well, I just said it to Anton Yelchin in a scene in Dying of the Light, and it was a very simple line. I just said, "Hey man, let's get drunk."
Thanks a lot, Dad.
All right.
Hi. So far, I mean, all the questions have been great, and there have been some really great movies that have been brought up. Raising Arizona is one of my favorites. Vampire's Kiss is amazing. No one has mentioned Kick-Ass. And I'm wondering, talk about Big Daddy just a bit. Where the accent specifically was inspired from.
Well, it was a bit of a shocker for Matthew Vaughn for me to start channeling Adam West. But it made sense to me. It did. I mean, I thought about it. I was like, well, a guy that's doing this, who's this sideways, this deranged, to actually train his daughter to be this super killer, Chloe Moritz's character, Hit Girl, and he dresses up like a pseudo Batman, would maybe tap into the early Batman TV show. And it happened when Matthew gave me the Bat belt, and he said, "I think we either have a black one or one that's yellow with all these like packets." And you know what I'm thinking, right, Nick? And I went, "Yeah, it's just like the one that Adam West wore in the Batman TV show," which to me, he will always be my favorite Batman. But I said, "Well, why stop there? Let's do the whole thing." Whenever he's Big Daddy, he talks like Adam West. And that's my favorite thing about the character, in fact. So much so that I invited Adam to come on the Jay Leno show with me because I wanted to meet him, and I thanked him for, I'm going to get a little misty. I thank you for saving my childhood. And it was a lovely meeting. But then I read later, people asked Adam how he felt about, Nick playing Adam West. And he said, well, I saw Nick try to be Adam West. He wasn't Adam West, but I still love him.
Hi Nick, thanks for coming out and indulging all my
questions. My pleasure.
So you seem to have a very intelligent, good-looking, dedicated fan base. I'm curious about the most interesting and unique encounter you've had with a fan. You can pick the one that's most appropriate for the venue.
Everything's civilized. I just remember I was in Romania, which is just a little bit next door to Transylvania.
I'm Romanian.
Oh, you are Romanian? Okay, cool.
From Transylvania.
Oh, awesome. Okay. Well, there was this
My mom is. I wasn't born there.
Oh, very cool. Well, there was this one lady that kept literally throwing herself at me and trying to bite me. And then she had her passport in her hand because she was going to get on a plane with me. And I got to be honest, I was scared because I see these teeth gnashing in the air as she was flying. And I was like, boy, that's real Transylvania style. Dracula and all that. So it was that was probably the most interesting encounter.
On behalf of Romanians, we're really sorry.
It's worth noting too, on top of some of the frustrations of celebrity, that Nick's also an ambassador to the UN and used it in a lot of positive ways. You want to talk about that?
The United Nations and I have had a relationship for several years now, and for some reason they chose me to be an ambassador to fight drugs and crime. And they send me off to places like Uganda, and I meet with former child soldiers and try to talk with them, and they're going through a rehabilitation process, so the things they've gone through are a little bit too terrifying to bring up in this venue. But also, human trafficking is a big issue. I mean, we do still have something like slavery, and it's not good, obviously, it's terrible, and so they try to send me to speak about that as well. And so far, it's been a pretty positive relationship, and I'm just waiting for my next mission. So, if there's any way that I can help in some small capacity and use so-called celebrity in a positive way, I will.
I was just wondering, you've been in such a wide variety of roles. If you had to choose one that you would want to be remembered by, as far as the entire film,
I think this one, Joe, I think this is the one that I would like people to remember me by, because it has a little bit of everything in it. And David really understood me and what I like to call my instrument. He had seen all the work, and he sort of cherry-picked in his mind someone that he felt could hit all the notes, adventure film, comedy, and drama. So I would say Joe is probably the best showcase of what I have to offer.
Hi Nicolas, thank you very much for an inspiring talk.
Thank you.
So last time I was at South by last year, I got arrested and I've got a DUI now. I'm from London, so that's quite difficult. I just wondered, you've obviously made some mistakes in your life. How do you handle and look back on those mistakes positively?
Great question. What do you do, by the way? What do you do for a living?
I work for a magazine called Dazed and Confused in London.
Are you a writer?
No, I'm a marketing director.
The thing that I would say is you got to be an alchemist. And by alchemist, I mean you got to turn the lead into gold. And what do I mean by that? You got to take the negative experience and you got to turn it into a positive experience. For me, I'm able to put my mistakes in the work. I did something a few years ago in New Orleans, and I got arrested. And I talked loud and I talked back at the cops, and I shouldn't have done it, but I did it. And because of that, though, I was able to do some scenes in Joe and mean it. You know, I was able to really use the negative and turn it into a positive. And I'm certain you can do the same thing in the marketing. I'm sure you can find a way to take that experience to make you dig deeper and do something positive, whether it's talking to people or helping people or getting into writing. If you're in the journalism world, write a story about it. You know, and because now you have that so-called mistake, but it's also a life experience that's going to deepen your the way you receive the people around you in the world, and just the way you're talking about now is beautiful. I mean, you're so honest, and I wouldn't. I mean, don't shit on yourself. I would be proud of yourself and do something positive with it.
Thank you very much.
You bet.
Hi.
Hi.
One would say I love everything you've done. You have all my money for every movie and DVD.
Thank you.
Every time something comes out.
Thank you.
I missed my flight today because you're definitely worth it.
Thank you for keeping me working.
I know. But basically, my question is, when you move your character, how long do you stay into that character? Or is it still with you? Are you able to shake it off? And just kind of wonder how that works with you.
Yeah, well, first of all, can we help her get home? Alex, can you figure out, get her on a plane, and I'll take care of it? We'll get Yeah, it's hard. You know, this last one I was just talking about, Dying of the Light, as I said, it's still in me, and I'm trying to shake it, and I gotta be honest, sometimes a bottle of wine does help get it past me and get it behind me. But you know, like Joe, when I finished this movie, I was feeling great, you know, and I love the way I felt. You know, it's just every experience is different. Sometimes it leaves quickly, and sometimes it lingers. And I do think the older I get, the more it's probably going to linger. But I try to always stay positive, and I'm certain that the next time I get into another movie, the Dying of the Light will stop affecting me. So I hope I answered your question. But take care of this, and when you can, we'll get that sorted. Yeah, sure.
And this will be our last question. After the photo session.
That woman in the blonde hair is Alice talking
Mr. Cage, thank you very much for being here.
It's my pleasure.
My favorite movie of all time is Adaptation. Wondering what it was like to work with Spike Jonze and Charlie Kaufman, also two of my heroes.
Two of my heroes, too. Well, Spike, first of all, is a lovely man. He's great to work with. You couldn't work with a nicer guy. And genuinely inspired people. The memory of that movie was like, I was playing two characters, twin brothers, and Charlie and Donald, and Charlie was not the happiest guy in the world, and Donald was so positive, and I remember Spike would be like, well, what side of the bed did you wake up on today, Nick? Which character do you want to start with? And I was like, I didn't sleep so well, let's go with Charlie first. And then I'd do all Charlie's dialogue, and then we'd turn it around, and then I'd have Charlie's dialogue that I just recorded in an earpiece in my ear, and I would act as Donald, who was more positive, literally to a tennis ball on a mic stand, and listen to my other pre-recorded dialogue and act like that. So it was probably the most difficult experience in terms of the degree of difficulty in film performance I've ever had. But because both Spike and Charlie were such positive and inspiring people to be around, it made it all doable. So it was a great experience for me.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.